We're honored to have her join us again tonight. Congresswoman, thank you so much for coming on. What do you make of this?
We're reminded once again, Tucker, that we are unfortunately being led by leaders who are selfish and short-sighted and don't care about the American people. They are leading us further and further into war without understanding one of the most basic tenets and characteristics of war, which is it is unpredictable. Once that first shot is fired, once that first punch is thrown, the predictable nature of things, you can plan for things, but it by nature becomes unpredictable. And so they're like, oh my gosh, this thing has become sabotage. Well, yeah, war is unpredictable. The thing that is not unpredictable, however, is the cost of war, the suffering, the devastation, the destruction, the death that is caused by it. And so the real question for the American people and for us to ask our leaders is how much suffering will we have to endure here in this country and for people around the world? Because as you've so clearly stated, we see a sabotage of an energy pipeline today. What's next? Is it access to the internet? Is it satellites that are connected to GPS that power virtually all parts of our life and also our weapon systems? Go on down the line and we end up with this potential nuclear outcome. And so, our leaders are saying, well, hey, we can't do anything. This is all in Putin's hands. Well, guess what? The United States, our leaders and European leaders are the ones fueling and funding this war. So they have a heck of a lot of leverage to be able to push for a ceasefire, negotiated outcome, and an end to this war, and to actually fight for peace and prosperity. And we need to know that if they're not doing that, and they aren't right now, then what they are doing is pushing for more destruction, more war, and therefore a lack of peace and prosperity and more suffering for us and people around the world.
If it turns out that the Biden administration actually blew up a natural gas pipeline or okayed someone else's sabotage of that pipeline, shouldn't there be a federal law that prevents them from lecturing the rest of us about climate change ever again?
I don't have the evidence of who was responsible for this. There will be consequences if that is ever found out. But we have the reality of what we're dealing with right before us today, which is if we continue down this path, we may end up with a nuclear holocaust. And so for us and for millions of people around the world, what are we going to do about it? We've got to call on our leaders to actually take a stand and fight for peace, fight for prosperity, fight for our future.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of like your kids to be able to grow up and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. I appreciate you coming on. As always, thank you.